Hey, what is going on, everybody? EnteR ChazmaN here, and I absolutely hope all of you guys are having a really fantastic spooky season, and hopefully we're in for some spooks and some scares here in the next month or so. But to kind of get the chance to talk about some of the things that I haven't had the chance or wanted to get around to talking about on our podcast, the EnteR ChazmaN Podcast, if you haven't heard about it. But yeah, definitely wanted to use the month of October to kind of highlight and spotlight a couple movies or maybe TV shows. I don't know, a couple things that just are not in the wheelhouse of some of my buddies on the podcast. If you don't know, I'm actually a huge horror movie fan, and I like all things spooky time. October is probably my favorite month of the year. Again, I think I'm the only one who likes spooky games in our friends group. But yeah, and I absolutely wanted to talk about a couple of movies that have some good and some very bad aspects to them. And that is the 2005 video game adaptation film, Doom. Now, for me personally, if you haven't seen Doom, I will say right off the bat, immediately for me, it is, at least in my opinion, now I won't say I'm not like the deepest Doom lore person. Not that I think Doom has like super intricate lore, but in terms of some of the basics that I know, the film doesn't follow anything to like a real T in terms of the lore from the movie or from the game. But there are some interesting aspects and things they decided to tweak and kind of work with that I personally kind of like. If you won't be able to tell throughout this video, I am kind of positive on this movie. I have seen it quite a few times. It generally is a movie I like to watch around Halloween season. And I know that's a very odd thing because from what I understand, most people seem to hate this movie. And I'd be honest, I don't quite see why. I mean, I guess if you went into this movie looking to take it super seriously and, you know, looking for an exact representation of Doom, I can understand that. But in my opinion, this movie is kind of fun and stupid. And I guess for me, that's personally enough. I guess just getting right into it, if you don't know, the film was directed by I got some notes here, so I'm going to try and read off of some of them, but Andrzej Bartkowiak. That's a hard name for me to say. But I'm kind of doing some research on this guy. From what I understand, I've looked at a lot of his movies he's made as the main director, and I'll be honest, he does not have a sparkling track record up to this point. He's done some other video game to film adaptations that also haven't been great. Now, where this guy is his true talent, where he really shines, in my opinion, and I don't even think that's my opinion. I mean, if you look at some of the credits for him, is as a cinematographer. I mean, this guy. I mean, I'll bring up a list so you guys can see. But this guy has been the main cinematographer for a lot of huge movies. I mean, you're looking at Terms of Endearment. Looking towards the latter end, I'd say in the 90s were some of the bigger ones. I mean, I'm looking at Dante's Peak, The Devil's Advocate, Lethal Weapon 4, and many more. I mean, he's got a lot of credits for him, and some of those are really good. And I would actually say that is an aspect of the Doom movie that actually really enjoys a lot of the cinematography. I feel like, in my opinion, other than a few sections, it's actually a good-looking movie for the time. I mean, I will say, towards the latter end, I feel like is where the cinematography begins to kind of wane, which we'll get into. But for the most part, like, everything, in my opinion, looks good. I mean, I like some of the more real-life suits and all of the just overall, many of the costumes for me really are pretty good looking, in my opinion. And the CGI is a different thing, but I'll build upon that here in just a bit. But I guess just to kind of throw everything on the table, even from the very get-go with this movie, especially back in the day, I can absolutely see why it's something I would personally like. I very much am a fan of two things in particular. EnteR ChazmaN loves sci-fi, and I very much love horror. And when you combine those things, they make some of my favorite movies and video game IPs to date. I kind of wrote down all of my favorites just so I could exactly recite them. But if you don't know, John Carpenter's The Thing, his remake from, not the original, but his remake is probably my favorite horror movie of all time. Along with Doom, that is also a movie that every Halloween I love to watch. But yeah, once again, I kind of consider that, it's definitely a horror movie, and that movie, in my opinion, is also pretty sci-fi, especially when it gets into how the Thing operates and how it works. To me, that's all super interesting. But kind of moving on from that, some other things, I love Dead Space. The Dead Space series is one of my favorite game trilogies. And then, Alien. Who doesn't love Alien? Who doesn't love Predator? There's another movie that kind of similar to Doom, I guess I would say, is a movie called Event Horizon, which I know some people love, some people hate, but that movie is heavy on sci-fi and horror. That, like Doom, though, is very lacking in many places, but it's also really cool in some places. So if you liked Doom, maybe I would suggest Event Horizon. But some other movies, I guess Pitch Black. I loved Pitch Black back in the day. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but I remember really liking it. So again, those are just some examples for me of things that I absolutely love that are horror and also, in my opinion, sci-fi related. I would say, in my opinion, other than the overall just kind of theming and everything about the movie, where this movie truly shines, in my opinion, is a lot of the casting. The casting is pretty darn great. Great casting. The Rock, this is at the time where he was beginning to kind of explode as an actor. I know this is after he did The Scorpion King. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this was at what was that movie he did? It was called The Rundown, I think. I think this is after The Rundown, which if I remember, that was his first or second major role other than The Scorpion King. But they caught The Rock at right when he's getting this is at the point where he's starting to kind of jettison upwards. Another big name they got, which is probably my favorite character in this whole movie, but Karl Urban. They got Karl Urban at a time where this is actually before he even began to jettison upwards, because I think other than this, the only thing I remember him in was The Lord of the Rings. I think The Two Towers is the first time I remember seeing Karl Urban in anything. I'm pretty sure he's been around much longer than that, but so yeah. So Karl Urban did Lord of the Rings, and then he does this. And next thing I think I remember him doing was he was in Judge Dredd. He did Star Trek. Obviously everyone I think kind of knows him from The Boys now, but yeah, this is kind of when he was a lesser known name. And then there's other actors, I'm not going to go through all of them, but Rosamund Pike, she's a very interesting character in this movie, mainly because I haven't seen her do much since this movie, to be honest. I don't know, she's a pretty good character. I actually really enjoy all of her more scientific aspects, if you can call it scientific, mainly due to the fact that it's Doom. This movie is so dumb. And the game series is I don't want to say dumb, but it's definitely kooky and goofy, and it's just meant to lead up to monsters and destroying them as what is it, Doom Guy is now, or as Karl Urban, as you might say. But so the casting, the just other movies that I secretly really enjoy. I guess now I'm just gonna get into anything that I can off the top of my head I absolutely love about this movie. A super underrated character, in my opinion, is the character slash dirtbag Portman from this movie, who is played by a Richard Drake. The only other thing I've seen him in was Batman Begins, and I think, Batman Begins, I think he played, he played, I'm not going to remember the character, but the guy that kills Bruce Wayne's father and mother in the alleyway. But I remember he's in that scene for a split second. I think he even gets shot during a a courtroom scene in one of those movies, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he's actually super great in this movie as just a vile dirtbag who is kind of all in it for himself and is very perverse. And I don't know, he's a great character in this movie. He's not a great role model for the younger guy in this movie. I'd say something else that I personally think is positive and a negative is kind of the reasoning for the movie in terms of why. I guess I should explain. I don't want to kind of delve too deep into what's the story, because I feel like I can go on like a tangent about that. But basically, there's from on Mars, there's a science facility. Things go wrong, as you might expect, and the Earth Defense Force needs to send in a team of super tough military guys to go in and figure out what's going on this facility. That literally is the quick two as to what's going on here. It's all just a bridge just to get Carl Urban and the Rock on another planet filled with monsters, and like that's all anyone really needs, right? But the reasoning for the monsters in the movie is I think it's very different from the games, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'm going to read right through my notes, just because I have a lot of notes on this. But the movie very much plays with the ideas of like mutations, experimentation with like chromosomes or additional chromosomes. And these chromosomes were developed through like remains of an ancient civilization that had advanced like rapidly or something like that. I think it was like very much in that kind of framework. I think that varies differently from the games, because I think in the games it's really, or not in the newer games. I think the newer games have a little bit more plot, but I think the old games, they're a pretty cut and dry story. Like it literally just throws you in as a soldier, boom, 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 boom. You're in a base, portals are opening up, demons everywhere. I could be wrong. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong. It's been a long time since I've played any of those games. I think the only one I have actually played through and through is the first one. I played those when I was like real little. But yeah, it definitely varies. And I'll be honest, I, to an extent, kind of like what they did here. It makes it a little bit more interesting, because I feel like throughout the movie you can kind of like see the mutations occurring. You can see how people are turning, which, you know, when you're playing the games, that's something you really like. In my opinion, that's something I would personally love to see actually happen. And I don't know, I kind of like it here. Now I will say, in my opinion, I kind of wish the movie would have gone more in the direction of kind of playing with the idea of these arcs that have been created to kind of allow travel, like light speed travel to places. And personally, in my opinion, I feel like some of the scenes involving the arc and just the idea for me is like a really cool addition and aspect to the movie. Some of the scenes are very disturbing, and there's a whole great scene of a character they meet who is a scientist who is like in a wheelchair, and he's made that way because of an arc problem or an arc mishap. But yeah, it's just really cool. The soldiers, it seems like they take some sort of training to be able to handle it. I don't know. I think the arc was a really cool addition. I personally really enjoyed them. And I guess, again, I'm just going to start naming off things that I really enjoy. There's a character in the movie whose name is Dr. Carmack, who is I think it's pretty cool, because if you don't know, the original creator of the Doom games, his name was John Carmack, who people in the game industry, he's a big name. But I don't know, I got a kick out of hearing Carmack. There's really cool like other sci-fi things that I think were great. The whole gun handle ID thing for the soldiers who like their guns won't operate unless they like scan their thumb on like the top of it. I don't know, I thought that was really cool, and it's sci-fi. I love coming up with ideas and stuff, although I'm not sure if that's the original. But yeah, cool idea. I love the nano walls. Those are kind of similar to the arc. The nano walls like create really cool scenes of things being kind of torn apart, or it's just they go really well with the kind of the enemies and the creatures that are involved in this. I really like the music very much. They brought over from like the games. They tried to recreate them to an extent. They sound very Doom. It's a mix of like some synth, some rock, some metal. There's also at the very end of the movie, there's a really cool I actually really like it. There's like a 9 Inch Nails song, which sounds pretty cool. I forgot what the name of the song was again. I don't know. Just go up and look it up. It's a great song. I really enjoy it. There is also an additional scene that I actually personally love. It's like a phone audio section where The Rock and his other military group are listening to something that has been happening on Mars, or I think it was, and people are being torn apart and screaming, and to me it was very reminiscent of the Event Horizon scene with Lawrence Fishburne, if you guys have ever seen that movie. Yeah, in that movie there's a great scene of like Lawrence Fishburne and his crew seeing what happened to the previous crew, and that's the famous scene of him turning it off and saying, "We're leaving."
We're leaving.
Something else I very much enjoyed was the Ben Daniels character, or Goat, I think is what they called him. But yeah, his character just kind of is like the religious military archetype. I very much feel that his like character and personality fits well in with the Doom games, seeing as how I think the Doom games are very like, you know, they're very hellish with like portals opening up from hell and demons coming in. I don't know. I feel like that archetype fits very much in with what they were going for here. And there's also a really cool scene of him like turning into a Doom, like a creature of some sort, and him kind of just knowing what's happening and him offing himself. That scene very much like, very cool. Definitely a cool addition. Other things, I guess I'll start getting into some of the practical effects. Some of the, again, like I said earlier, I really enjoyed some of the practical effects in this movie. Some of the CGI is a little iffy, especially for the time. I mean, I still personally enjoy them, but the practical is definitely where it's at. Where the CGI stands out, and all, it's so weird. Like, I like the CGI in certain sections, and I don't like it in certain sections. Particularly the end section. Now, this is where I feel like this is the most popular scene from the movie, but even this scene, I will say, it has its problems. At the very end of the movie, the Carl Urban character, basically it turns into like a first-person scene, and he starts going throughout the facility and starts cleaning out monsters and aliens and stuff, and first person, and it's really cool. It's so crazy that I'm so like 50-50 on this. I should say that's kind of my overall feeling on this movie again. Like, there's some stuff I really like, some stuff I don't really like. But, yeah, Carl Urban just starts going through and demolishing creatures, and it kind of feels like the games. I will say my only biggest problem with the final scene is the editing in it isn't fantastic. I don't want to say it's shoddy, because I feel like, I know I don't have an expertise in filmmaking, but there's definitely a lot of like staggering jump cuts in the final first person mode scene. And almost some of like the motion and movements don't really feel connected. Like, you can definitely see the editing and the cuts. So again, I still like it. I very much appreciate it. It's not as bad as I think it was House of the Dead. That movie had like, if I remember, it had like actual scenes of the game spliced in it, which was like totally weird and dumb, but at least this one tried to like just recreate the feeling of the games. You can argue whether it did a good job or not, but I like it. Again, as a nerd, I'm okay with it being thrown in there. The Sergeant Reaper characters in the film have great chemistry. Now I'm just gonna look at you got a whole scene with the BFG, the big effing gun with the Rock and everything. That was cool. I like the scene of Mac's head getting knocked off. It's the whole fight scene in the electric pit. That's another great scene that I can think of. There's so many. Again, I don't know. I'm just gushing, but to me, it's a fun movie. I would say if you haven't seen it, don't take it super seriously. Don't expect the games. Just, I don't know, watch it sometime during the holiday season when you're just looking for something to watch. I think it's a little underrated, but hey, that's just me. Just a couple other things I wanted to mention is, I should have said it, the end elevator scene. I love the end elevator scene with Karl Urban holding his sister. They're kind of escaping the facility, and everything's kind of somber. And he's kind of like looks up into the looks upwards, and the doors of the facility begin opening up, and light kind of shines down on him. And again, kind of with the goat or Ben Daniels character and the whole theme of like some religious themes, this scene feels very, again, religiously themed. Like they're kind of raising up, and the light's coming in, and it definitely feels like they're like exiting hell. And then the doom theme, kind of comes on again that they had created, and then you get that fantastic Nine Inch Nails song made for the movie. Overall, I'll just say, for a Halloween movie, I would recommend this. I mean, it's crazy because there's other people who I've seen that very much dislike this movie. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's kind of a fun Halloween. It's a decent video game to film adaptation. I don't think it's like the worst I've ever seen. If this is the worst you've ever seen, you need to go watch more video game to film adaptations, because I feel like there's way worse. Don't go watch House of the Dead. That's, from what I remember, that's a really, really bad one. I kind of have the same opinion about Resident Evil, the one with the first one, Mila Jovovich, but maybe I'll talk about that one another time. I don't know, just a fun movie, man. If you want to see The Rock, if you want to see an early Karl Urban, if you want to, in particular, if you always wanted to see those two characters fight it out to the death, then this is the movie for you. So, yeah. Again, this gets a wholehearted recommendation from EnteR ChazmaN. I definitely would say, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's dumb. Don't take it seriously. Just go in wanting to see some funny scenes with some good actors, and I don't know. There you go. You heard it. Why are you still watching this? Go watch Doom. Find a way to watch it. Well, guys, I guess that's all I had to say. Once again, if you like this form of video, please do let me know. I know this is kind of new. I just started doing this with the Lord of the Rings of Power, this kind of framework for a video. I'm just kind of searching. I'm searching for ways of doing some content without having to wait to do it on the podcast, But yeah, if you like this form of content, please let me know, and I absolutely would love to hear any suggestions you guys might have or your opinions. What do you personally think of Doom 2005? Do you think it's a little bit overrated? Do you think it sucks? I mean, I absolutely would love to hear your difference of opinion versus mine. Yeah, I guess that's all I got to say. I hope you guys have a very spooky season. I hope you have a great Halloween. And, I don't know, go get the candy, man. Candyman. Maybe that's one I need to possibly talk about next. I don't know. Again, throw your suggestions at me and your recommendations. But anyways, I love you guys. Be safe. And I can't wait to see you on the next EnteR ChazmaN. Alright, guys. Hey now, I see you made it through the video and liked or even possibly loved it. Well, if you want to see any more additional content or you'd like to get into contact with me, consider checking out some of my social medias right here. And if you'd like to go above and beyond and want to support my channel monetarily, here is also a couple places where you can do so. And if nothing else, simply liking, sharing, and subscribing would make me the happiest Chazman on the planet.